Coming to you from Boise, Idaho, the fastest growing city in the U.S. and recognized as one of the most creative and vibrant cities to live in. This is a special edition of Enhancing the Human Experience, a World of Creativity, a series of unique interviews with successful people from around the globe, how they get inspired, where their ideas come from, and how they apply creativity in their business and personal lives. Now, here's your host, Mark Phillips, along with special guest interviewer, Mark Stinson.
All right, welcome to another episode of A World of Creativity inside Enhancing Human Experience podcast. I'm Mark Phillips. I'm here with Mark Stinson.
I'm Mark Stinson. And boy, we've been looking forward to this interview for a while now. And we have a couple of terrific business women, one from Paris and one from Delhi in India. And we're going to explore the creative process that each of these people go through and just see what inspires them and how they think and how they approach their work and their personal life and so forth. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, Sophia, welcome from Paris.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah. Tell us a little about what you're working on these days.
So my name is Sophia. I define myself as a mother, a citizen, and an entrepreneur. So I'm working on a project called Untitled Chapter since 2 years and old now. And I have been recently selected to be part of a specific program for a social startup in Paris. So I'm working on this these days.
Very nice.
Oh, that sounds great. And Mridhu, tell us what you're working on today.
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me on the podcast today. Basically, I'm a technical head at Delve Insight, and my major responsibility are to bring innovations in the company, maybe through the introduction of new projects, training new juniors, attending conferences all around the world, meeting people and understanding their requirements and helping them in decision making by providing strategic analysis. So this is where my whole work revolves. So if you would ask me, like you just mentioned, what exactly I'm working on. So I'm actually working on different strategic projects, market analysis of anti-infection is one of them, what I'm working on. Then there is a company who is looking for some collaboration in US. So that's where I'm working on. So yeah, there are different kind of projects which are running under me. Yeah, and I'm enjoying working on that.
Well, and it sounds like this is what's great. You know, you're both doing something that you're excited about, you're passionate about. And so Mark, I met both of these women doing market research projects. Mm-hmm. So Sophia helped with a market research project in Paris, probably, gosh, it's been 8 or 9 years ago almost, which I can't believe how time flies. But really to understand, how customers think and what they do. And then similarly with Mridhu, I worked with her on a business research project where we were trying to understand customers and the market. And I'd like to ask both of you ladies from the standpoint of, getting insight into how people think and that kind of market research background. How do you approach that? How do you get to know the people, not just customers, but as real humans? Sophia, what's been your experience with that? We'll start with you.
Actually, it has a lot to do with my background because I have studied art and sociology, and cultural trends, and also what we call systemic sociology. And I think there is a lot to do with understanding where people come from, what are the main influences through culture, religion, society, and as well a lot of emotional intelligence, meaning empathy, to just listen to people and hear how they build how they can build how can I say that? Sorry, it's been a while since I have not been studying English. The beliefs and what they think they need and what they expect from life.
Well, this is great. And Mridhu, when you're doing your analysis, how are you getting to understand the person?
This is amazing question, I would say. Okay, so first of all, I would say like when you're into business, I mean it's rarely a chance you get to know about the people who are working on the other side. I mean they are more into the work and the decision making, and so they really do not give you much more time to know each other personally. So when I talk about that, I think I have met people personally and I know them, and I think now we are friends. So like one of the guy I met in the conference in Copenhagen, and then I like somehow through the business travels I went to Tokyo for a seminar, and then I met him again, and again when I went to the conference in US, and again I met him. So it's like like you get to know each other more personally. Now I know like what exactly he's into, what kind of goals, what exactly the visions he has, and how the family he has. I think we discuss about everything. And when you are more on the personal side, I think it's also because the trust they are putting, like in my case, the work which I have provided it to them, they are so satisfied with the work that they would like to step up and go more on the personal side, and they would like to know more about um, like how I think, how I work, and what kind of goals I have. Yes, I would just say that it's rare, but there are some people who would like to involve themselves into that understanding of the personal stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because many people think even Drew, you have the word technical in your title, um, and Sophia, you're working with a lot of business people who are concerned with their operations and their profits. But you have a nice line, Sophia, in your program called "Put Heart into Your Work." Um, how do you find that people want to be inspired more from their heart at work? What's been your experience?
Why? Well, first of all, I can only mention that we are right now living a huge cultural and societal revolution with the internet, uh, with all the technology coming in, which is a bigger revolution that could have been the book and print at, at its time. So I think that people, there is a lot of article in human resources and management about bore out, about how people need to find meaning in their lives and in their work as well, and to have a more ethical approach about how they work and about all the resources we have on this planet at this stage. So I think that people do need to find um, a, a right path and between their personal lives and their work, meaning that till now work was, all companies were kind of an eyesore that was out of the society, and each more and more we recognize that companies need to be at the heart of society and how it works, and to make sure that everything is right in how we live together at the end of the day. Not sure if that's clear. It has a lot to do with corporate social responsibility and how we are in a turning point of humanity and work culture.
I see what you're saying. So it's not just on a personal level, but all the way up to the societal level.
Yes, but it has a lot to do with the personal because it starts with the personal action and the personal awareness of what you want to do with your energy, what you want to do with your job, the impact you want to have in the world, not only earn money but have a positive impact. And more, more and more people, and especially young people, are really having this in mind when they're thinking about their future work business.
Yes. And so, Mridhu, how do you find that you're able to bring an emotional side to your technical work?
I think there is no emotional side. Well, when I work, I am very focused. So my agenda of working is quite different from others. Before I start any project, I envision the outcome. So by doing it, it helps me in creating best of the output for my clients. Sometimes it takes 2 days to even analyze how the outcome should be, which makes sense for me because you would like to create something massive on board for your clients so that they can take decisions on their best strategic portfolio. So yes, it works for me. So this helps me in getting more clarity. I become more focused with my approach, and it deliver value to the clients. And this is how I work. I mean, I'm very, very focused.
And describe more about, I guess, if I called it your creative process. How do you approach the problem or the business challenge that the clients have shared with you? Do you have a systematic approach or is it more intuitive? I'd be curious about your process.
Um, it totally depends on the project to project, honestly. Like, for example, it's like a very, very different kind of project which I have never worked into. So what I do, I start from the scratch. I start reading the stuff. I do a lot of secondary research to understand what exactly I can bring on board to create some strategic assumptions. If you talk about market analysis, or if you talk about some different kind of projects where the primary research is needed. So I try to create some kind of a methodology which could work for that project and for my client, and then I put that up in front of my client and we discuss it together. So yeah, so like if you ask me on the creative process, so basically I try to understand more on the project side, then brainstorm a lot. And if, for example, if things are not working well, then I go for a walk and once I come back, and it gives me a different dimension to think. This is how it works with me. I mean, and most of the time I have a very big team, and we keep on discussing with each other. And yeah, sometimes their ideas are quite impressive. So yeah, I try, I work more, and I discuss, and then that's how I, like, refine my process and methodology, you can say.
That's great. And so, Sophia, when you're taking on a new project or a new engagement or assignment, do you have a process that you start with?
Well, it depends on the topic and the industry. First of all, I will have a listening position. It's the first step for me to be listening to all the expectation and also listen to the trends, all the trends you can get from news or articles or experts about the topic, whatever it can be. And after that, I will kind of work. I do a lot of mind mapping, and we'll try to connect all the information, even the one who which may seem opposite, to find like the common things in the mind mapping, and I would start with that. Not quite sure if I'm answering right.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. And is there a source that I'm curious, oftentimes people ask me too about mind mapping. Do you have a particular technique or an expert or a book or anything that you refer to for mind mapping?
No, I kind of do my own because I really love to connect, for example, artistic works, philosophic, it can be like history, social, cultural references. It can be a lot of different references. So it can be about disruptive technological innovation. I'm trying to link everything.
Yeah, this is great.
So do you use a pen and paper, or are you using an app of some sort to do the map?
Actually, I'm old school. I'm using a paper and pen. I have a little book that I use, and I write down everything I see, and I'm or draw even sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll love, and I always love to hear that because in so many of our interviews, it's like, yeah, technology is wonderful, the internet's apps, and everything else. But how many people still use pen and paper, whiteboard?
Yeah,
It's like you have to feel it. There's something tactile about touching the ideas.
Mhm.
exactly. I love that. It's
Yeah.
really about touching the idea because we have so much luck with the technology in terms of sources and content that we can have. I mean, in video, images, and now we can visit museums that are thousands of kilometers from you or get references you never heard of. But the fact is that when you are in the process yourself, you have to own all those ideas and connect them your way. And the best way is, yes, speaking with your own voice and move your own body around the idea and write it and yes, make it concrete and material. That's true.
Yeah, this is great. And so I'd like to, more on the personal side. You've talked about Mridhu just taking a walk sometimes, and Sophia museums and things. Both of you live in such vibrant, dynamic cities. I can only, just the food and the color and the art and the music. But where do you personally find your creative inspiration? Where you say, I need a dose of inspiration. What's your personal go-to, Mridhu? What about you?
Honestly, it's a very difficult question for me, but I would like to answer it in a different way. The key inspiration, if you ask me, are so many, but it's less related to the hobbies, or you can say like, just watching a movie, or you can say like moving out and getting some inspiration. No, it never happens with me. It is actually more related to the ideas of my craft, or you say my work, what exactly I'm doing. So major inspiration is like when I am working, I'm very very focused. So when I'm very focused, so there are a lot of ideas running into my mind, and I try to put it into the reality. So it's more of a, you can say like, just refining my ideas. My work, I think, inspires me. I enjoy working a lot.
Mhm.
This is great. Well, yeah, that's the idea, that we would be excited and inspired by our craft and our work. So that's great. Sophia, where do you find some of your inspiration outside of work?
My answer will sound so French. Having a black coffee, uh, having a cafe, a coffee in a cafe in Paris, actually.
Mm.
I
The
like
ideas
it.
start flowing then, huh?
Yes. Well, and one of the things I remember most about meeting Sophia for the first time is going to their offices. This was at your prior company, Sophia, of course,
Yes.
but yeah, a terrific office, vibrant neighborhood. And I said, where's a good cafe or bakery? And it was literally right across the street. And I said, this must be a wonderful life that you have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, we have that.
Well, listen, this has been just a terrific conversation. I'm mindful of our time. Thanks for sharing your insights and ideas. And as we close, I'm curious. People often ask if there is a book or a resource or a podcast. What are you reading or listening to these days that you find some creative inspiration from? Sophia, what about you?
Right now, I'm reading a book from a French. I love science fiction authors, and in France we have a great author. She's called Catherine Dufour, and she has just released a book about Ada Lovelace, who was the first woman um, producing code in IT. It's the first code in IT. So these days, to be honest, I'm very into perspective and also through science fiction and through biographies, getting to understand better which is our path right now.
That's great. Mridhu, what are you reading or listening to these days?
Well, like I mentioned before, I majority of the time, I'm an active thinker and absorbs a lot of thoughts and ideas from surroundings, which keeps me engaged most of the time. So I actually do not get time to read, or you can say like spend more time on just figuring out some new books or something. So, but I have this thing, I regenerate myself because I mentioned before I'm too focused. So I do yoga for spiritual connectivity. I do CrossFit, which blocks my everyday thoughts. I sometimes cook. Uh, it's like not something which is different from the regular. So yeah, like if you ask me, like the books which I have read in the past is like the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari from it's Robin Sharma, and yeah, this was quite my favorite book.
Hmm.
And so I'm fascinated by the yoga practice. What does that do to help sort of refresh or calm your brain from all the activity you have for work?
Yeah, like I tell you, like whenever I go back home, or sometimes I in the morning also, like I do yoga. For example, I challenge myself over there also. I think because it works for me, because all the time whenever there is something which I'm doing different, I have to involve fully. So in the case of yoga, I do meditation. I practice some different kind of asanas. For example, I wanted to master headstand. So, and I like mentioned before, I envision myself being stable in the headstand position before practicing every day. And yes, now I'm able to do headstand.
Wow.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Well, this has just been a wonderful conversation, and to the theme of our podcast, a world of creativity. Um, both of you have opportunity to have global connections, across different continents and countries. And Sophia, at the outset, you mentioned the internet and how close we are now. Are you finding that we are a more global community, that our creative exchange um, crosses borders and crosses cultures a lot more than maybe when you began your careers?
Yes, of course. Yes, it's huge, and the potential is exponential actually, uh, because we are able now to connect so much people that have ideas and share them and find solutions. For example, I've heard of this huge project about cancer. I don't remember the exact name right now. It's good. They have created an online platform which is global, and everyone, not only scientists, but people who are good at thinking and resolving mathematics problems, or even in gaming, they all participate to a huge program to try to understand how cancer works, the disease itself, and put together all the knowledge of all type of people in the world. This is just one example on how technology is helping us to connect all type of creativity.
That's great. And Mridhu, how have you seen culture creative exchange?
Well, as I mentioned that I do visit conferences worldwide, so I think it's so important. I mean, you go to the conference, meet new people, have gorgeous conversations with them. You tend to learn a lot. I met a guy. He was working on a digital therapeutics for in the CNS. So that was so alluring. I mean, it was so great to know that you tend to learn different kind of things. One person is doing something, they have some kind of a technological innovation, and that drives you crazy. Wow, I mean, people around the world, they are making something very innovative that not only inspires you, that inspires your soul to create something bigger and achieve.
I agree.
Mm.
I love when
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
that's
say
true.
review. I love when you say sometimes you go crazy because it's so true. When you meet so much people with so much brilliant ideas and different point of view, it's really blow-minded.
Well, we want to thank you two for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and we'll wrap it up here. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you. Thank you very much to both of you for the invitation. And I don't know to who this podcast is addressed, but I do hope they will enjoy it.
Wow, what a great interview. We want to thank Sophia and Mridhu for joining us in this episode of A World of Creativity, Insight Enhancing the Human Experience. Lots of greatness in this episode. Keep in mind, you can always find these episodes on youtube.com/gmarkphillips or on your favorite podcast player. Thanks again for listening. Stay tuned for next week for another great episode of A World of Creativity. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day. All the best. Health, wealth, and success.
Thanks for listening to this special edition of Enhancing the Human Experience, A World of Creativity with Mark Phillips. If you liked this episode and want to know more, check out gmarkphillips.com and please leave us a review on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.